Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for July 25th, 2025. Hope you all have had an excellent week out there in the financial markets. And as always, we're here to cover the most recent VantagePoint AI predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and click on the link down in the description below, and you can get signed up for a live demonstration and learn all the specifics about how these predictive indicators and trading tools are helping traders make much better decisions out in the marketplace. Now we'll go ahead and start out with shares of AMD because it's a really good example of how really this suite of predictive indicators work together. And so what we're seeing is daily price action. So each one of these bars and candles will represent a full and complete trading day in shares of AMD. And so right up against that price data, the first thing we're going to cover here is this black line and blue line value. And so the black line that you're seeing, well, that is a simple moving average. And in this case, it's a 10-period simple moving average. So this is a very common technical analysis indicator. And what it does is it looks back at the previous 10 close prices, we'll add those all together, and then divide by that number. And so what that does for traders is really smooth out the existing price action. But one of the weaknesses with tools like this is that all the data that generates those moving averages comes from the past. And so it's really just smoothing out and restructuring what's already occurred in the marketplace. And so traders needing to be ahead of that next movement higher or lower in the market, well, VantagePoint traders are able to compare what we might call that lagging or simple moving average to this proprietary predicted moving average. And for this value, which we can think of as a price, for that to get calculated and plotted on the chart every evening, well, this is where that technology of artificial neural networks come into play, and they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis. And so what that means is that rather than just looking tools that are just going to look back at previous prices, really reconfigure themselves and move forward on the chart, VantagePoint's technology is looking at other markets that are known to drive and influence future prices. And essentially the data sets that's used to make those forward-looking artificial intelligence predictions is the data from other markets. So this can be things like ETF groups. This can be things like other individual stocks. It can be, competing stocks. It can be markets with inverse or positive correlations, leading and lagging relationships. And this really goes globally, right? It's going to look at things like the value of the dollar index, global interest rates, and even global commodities where appropriate, depending on what asset or what your target market that you're forecasting for. And so with the help of all of that data, it really extracts this valuable information to produce valuable price clues as to where things are headed next. And so what we see with this predicted moving average, we get a very early warning sign as far as average prices starting to move higher, and traders may want to look to take a trend position, take a swing trade, or just understand that, all right, well, we're starting to see some bullish signals come through that artificial intelligence output. So here we have about a 14% rally in just the past 10 trading days. But what's really exciting about this is how all this works together. So you'll notice here with shares of AMD, you have this bar here that goes from green, it stays red for a while and goes back to green. And this is another indicator utilizing that artificial intelligence and even that intermarket approach, but it's used to solve a different problem. And that problem is just strength or weakness over a 48-hour period. So now we're really down to very short-term strength or weakness over the next coming trading days. And you'll see how this works, where when that neural index is bullish, we get that movement higher, even a gap here on the chart. And as the neural index goes bearish, you get some bearish price action, some lower lows over the next couple of trading days before that neural index gets bullish again and we see the upward trend resume. Now, you'll notice we never got that blue line below the black line. You'll actually see a huge amount of separation between that predicted moving average and the actual, signaling a fairly strong trend here. So that's what helps traders, again, know when to buy on the dip, when to expect some weakness. And lastly here, you're provided a predicted high and predicted low. So now we're down to intraday price levels, and these are produced before each and every trading day. So now we're going into Friday. This will be Friday's candle. We'll get the real data. We'll fill in once the trading day is over and we see what actually occurred. And we'll see how accurate all of these predictions are. And so each week what we do is look back at those predictions. And this is where this gets really exciting. You see how early where you see that crossover down at these predicted lows, really excellent levels to get involved, down at about $143 per share. You even see after all of this volatility, it does a good job of that predicted low getting hit and the trend resuming, but then we start to settle in. So even if you had potentially bought some going into this trading day, well, you recognize, look, expect prices to actually move lower. And what you'll notice here is really interesting is even before this trading day here, you actually see that predicted low slanted lower. After this trading day, predicted low again, slanted lower again, letting you know, expect the market to come down towards these prices. You get a little bit of a settling in, market closes actually above that level in the range, and then resumes the uptrend. So this is really this combination of tools that, depending on your trading style and time frame, traders are utilizing to improve their decision-making process, really get good entries, whether that be a daily short-term day trade or positions on a longer-term swing or position trade. So really nice move there in shares of AMD, as we like to see some strength come back into the market. Here's Solid Power. So there's been a lot of sort of noise around batteries and energy being an important aspect of the economy. And so what we're seeing here is a very cheap stock, but we really started to see these crossovers really at the midpoint in June. We see that blue line crossing above the black line, neural index staying bullish. You'll see, on days like this, you get a little bit of a gap down, not much here, a little bit of gap down here. But for the most part, that neural index stays bullish in this uptrend. And this is where this level of accuracy, upwards of 80+%, comes from. It's going to get this question right in that 48-hour window. Going to get that right with a very high level of accuracy. So when we can take that, combine that with potentially some momentum strategies and really understand, hey, when we've got the overall trend direction on our side and that momentum in the market, well, there we can see some really strong accelerations in price. So again, as we look now at the intraday predicted highs and lows, you really have this roadmap depending on whatever that individual stock that you're trading. Again, it's going to look at those intermarket relationships specific to the market in question to generate these price predictions. And so we see as we get that blue line crossing above the black line, every single day these levels are going to adjust a little bit and let you know, okay, well, we've got more information, more data, not just from the target market here, Solid Power, but those intermarkets, and where can we expect price to move over this time period. So you see a lot of entries early, obviously very quickly. If you have some profit targets, you're going to move up and hit those predicted highs. But overall, a very nice trend here, and often alerts traders to areas to pay attention to. So, you not only see this happening in, this stock specifically, but a lot of battery stocks and energy stocks gets that attention. And this really works all throughout the market. Sometimes it's energy stocks, sometimes it's tech stocks, sometimes it's specifically semiconductors or healthcare. And we really see as predictive indicators start to get very bullish, forewarning of some price strength. Here you see a 155% rally here just over the past 31 trading days. Obviously, these lower price stocks can have some very volatile, very aggressive sort of price moves. A few weeks ago, we looked at Lantronix, and this is the same thing, recognizing that, hey, we've got an uptrend here. Even with a cheaply priced stock, we've got those price clues from VantagePoint indicating, hey, where is the daily range likely to fall? Where might we want to accumulate a position? So we see early on numerous opportunities to get involved in the market, but even just more recently over the past few weeks, this being a very cheap stock, it doesn't look very impressive as it just moves from one day to the next, but these are pretty large moves. So as we move down towards the predicted lows, you see the market recovering, in this case, down to predicted low, up to a subsequent predicted high just this week, about a 5% move in the stock price just over a couple of trading days there. So pretty exciting stuff. And overall, we can see we've got a pretty strong move here in shares of Lantronix over the past few weeks, about a 39 and was 40% rally here in just about 33 trading days. And what it allows you to do is take some profits, use that to finance the trade and potentially stick with that longer term position there. But obviously those great entries are going to help both in the short term and also the long term positioning. Here's shares of Google, Alphabet. We had earnings right here on the chart, so you get a lot of that noise. That's where the software doesn't account for, hey, there's an earnings report tonight. That's where the trader needs to come in and really understand where there might be some price catalysts as far as the individual market you're trading. But again, you see here we've been in a strong uptrend. You get a couple periods where this neural index goes bearish and the market settles, but that blue line remains above the black line. And so when trying to navigate this and really edge out price levels, you see some really nice opportunities here. We start to step lower. It's telling you, look down towards these predicted lows. Trend's still up, but look for the market to settle in at some of these predicted levels. And even on days like this, you've got this prediction saying, look for the market to trade lower, look to trade down at these levels before that momentum starts to kick back in. And even as the momentum comes in, a couple of nice entries, but before earnings, as we move up almost towards $200 a share. about a 197 coming from about 174 or so. So just in a pretty short order there, getting a nice move on shares of Google. Here's Dollar Tree. So here's just a market that's been in an uptrend for a very long period of time. And what I wanted to highlight here is, we've got that predictive forecast coming in. Here's earnings right in the middle of the chart. And you see all that noise and volatility around earnings. That's what you always want to account for. But you notice the overall trend still bullish. And as we look at the subsequent predicted lows, so as it takes in that information around earnings, figures out, hey, where are these prices coming in? What's going on with those intermarket relationships? You're going to get that consistent roadmap that says, okay, well, let's look down towards these predicted lows. Sometimes on these trading days that don't seem all that exciting, well, there may be some really great opportunities to get involved before this trend resumes. And you see how many entries here as this market just keeps climbing. That predicted moving average remaining very bullish over the duration here. And this has really been all the way since April here, where the stock market started recovering. Dollar Tree up 57% in the past 69 trading days. See, just this past week, getting a really strong uplift and a continuation of that very strong trend. Here's shares of Caterpillar. Again, very similar output here. We get that blue line above the black line. You get these periods, you see that neural index goes bearish, you run a little sideways. Here we go bearish, flip back up to bullish very quickly, and that momentum comes in. Here again, bearish, getting a couple days where you sort of stutter in. But those predicted highs and lows, even on those down days, are going to give you that guidance of where are we likely to move here. Here's all these predicted lows being hit. Within a couple trading days, that market really starting to accelerate to the bullish side. Again, here's some noise coming through, but the overall trend very bullish and the uptrend really remaining intact here. So really exciting stuff going around. Really a lot of the construction, building material companies, obviously Caterpillar, a big part of that. And here you see about a 22% rally in just 35 trading days. So really exciting stuff here. We're getting a mix of markets. The broader indices keep grinding higher, but you do see some really strong trends in other areas where, that predicted moving average below the actual moving average just doesn't really get on the radar, doesn't draw a lot of attention. But that doesn't mean there's not a lot of these, familiar names trending higher and really getting that guidance from the predictive indicators to keep exploiting some of those trading opportunities. So we'll go ahead and leave it there for today. Once again, this has been the Hot Stocks Outlook for July 25th, 2025. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck out there, and bye for now.